And protests over the war in Gaza heating up on college campuses all around the country.
Fox Eye legal expert Wendy Patrick is here to break down their rights. Wendy, good morning.
Good morning.
What rights do Americans have to express themselves, to protest?
Well, we always have had the freedom of speech, and that's always a constant. The question is, what does it look like in different situations? And the question that we're seeing across college campuses is, where do we cross the line between words and actions that are criminal? And this has been an analysis that's gone campus by campus. I mean, you just heard this morning, there have been some clashes that have gotten violent, so obviously there's crimes being committed. But on the other hand, you also can't just spill over into a neighborhood and block traffic and prevent emergency vehicles from tending to people who may need an ambulance. You also can't break rules when it comes to criminal threats, to committing hate crimes. And those are the types of reasons that you saw so many arrests over the weekend. Remember last week there were a couple of tents on a couple of campuses. And then over the weekend, all of a sudden now you've got 10 tents, 12 tents, 50 tents, and an enormous amount of rhetoric and divisiveness really concerning some of these kids that are just there to get an education.
They interviewed several of them who I'm just trying to get to my final and I can't get through and this and that. And everybody respects the right to protest and the freedom of speech. But again, it's that blurred line and people have different interpretations of what that line is causing the problem. Why are some of these protesters being arrested? We've seen at USC, at Columbia. Why are they being taken into custody?
For committing crimes is the reason behind much of it. Now the question then becomes, well, what types of crimes and where should the line be? Should we tolerate trespassing, failure to follow lawful instructions, obstructing traffic? Should we just violate, basically arrest those violators that are committing assaultive crimes? But then there are some that are basically saying, these outside agitators have come in and really created more of a furor than the students or even sometimes the faculty were there to do. And that's difficult too, because it's usually not until after arrest, police or anybody else is able to sort through, well, who do we have here? We've got a couple students, a couple faculty, and then we've got 20 people from out of county.
Yeah. Who are those people?
Who are those people and why are they here?
We heard this 4 years ago during the George Floyd protest. It was a very similar argument.
Yes.
You have the people passionate for the cause and they're protesting, that's fine, but then there's always outliers.
Right.
And there's no way really to tell unless. So what are people to do?
Well, legally, you have a First Amendment right to peacefully protest, and a large majority of the people there are doing just that. And if you are doing just that and not violating any laws and not blocking traffic and not, failure to follow orders, then that's everybody's right. But you're absolutely right. It's the blurred lines that are sometimes caused by outside agitators. I have to say, I know so many young people that are right now eyeing where they want to go to school. They are watching the television, they're looking at these protests, and they're factoring in which campuses might be safest for them, which is also an issue, is if students are feeling unsafe on campus, well, shouldn't that be a reason that maybe there could be another vehicle for the valid expression of First Amendment views?
Wendy, I can't tell you how many moms I've spoken with over the past few weeks, and they're genuinely, they're fearful for their kids.
Well, you've got 5 kids. I mean, this is something for kids.
Well, sometimes you want to count my husband. Yes,
that's right. That's funny. But so part of the analysis you're no doubt going through is, should that campus now be off limits? Because if it's a hot spot today, is it a likely hot spot tomorrow?
How does it work with these college campuses? You have the private universities, you have the public universities. Do private get the chance to make harder rules because they're private schools?
Well, there's school policies and then there's local laws. And those are part of the things that we're looking at is it one thing to say, well, this is against school policy, so maybe somebody's going to get a warning. Whereas, do we have to make an arrest to break up a fight or because somebody is making criminal threats? Those are all very valid questions because there are so many different venues that are allowing these protests. And then where do you draw the line where people are literally living and forming tent cities on the college campuses? I mean, you've seen the footage. There's garbage. There's places where students can't walk through to get to finals. They have to kind of do creative workarounds in order to make it to their class on time to take a test. These are some of the very practical realities that we're facing. So we're in an arena and an area where it's more than just free speech.
Good point. Universities in this country have always been a source of protests and then point out, shed light on injustices. I mean, the 60s and the 70s. Over the weekend, for the first time, based on what's happening, I heard reference to Kent State. and when they called in the National Guard at Kent State,
Yes.
that did not end well. Students
No.
were killed.
Right.
When they start connecting those types of incidents, is this something that, if they start calling in National Guard and doing that to quell these protests, who knows what happens at that point?
Who knows what happens at that point? And unpredictable is unknown, and we have seen some terrifying results happen when you basically use overkill.
Yeah.
But there's also the analogous situation is you have to, when are we going to protect the students and how, short of calling in the big guns, so to speak, sadly, quite literally sometimes. So nobody wants to do that. It reminds me of the metal detector argument that you don't want to turn schools or campuses into fortresses, but you also need to keep students and faculty safe. But you're right, that's an unfortunate example of, I suppose, the other end of the spectrum.
Universities a source of protest, and that's fine, but also need to be open to debate and speaking in both sides, and not the yelling and the threatening and,
in a
and all this other
safe
stuff.
fashion.
In a safe
That's
fashion.
the goal of all the administrators and local law enforcement. Let's see if we can get there.
Okay, Wendy Patrick, we thank you as always.
Thank you.